I introduce myself as Roger, artist name TWR72. I'm a writer and producer in multiple genres, and I run two techno labels called Float Records and Home Records. Plus, I do some graphic design work once in a while. I'm inspired by what comes next and what has been. Connect the old to the new, whether it's about music, art, or personal growth. I'm just a big fan of learning new things, finding new genres, new art, improving myself on a personal level. It's just really satisfying to learn. Well, in terms of music production, it's not something that changes like every week, but I do want to challenge and learn new habits every year. So I just start with a blank template and build a new one with a totally different approach, for example. Yeah, this can be anything. So from changing the way I'm producing my beats, changing the way I create my sounds, or to start with a complete new master chain. But the most important habit is that I produce different genres which are widely spread. So it's from techno to neo soul to indie pop, for example. And for each genre that I produce, I take a different approach, as each style has its own unique demands. And every genre requires a distinct mindset and production technique. So over time, I've taught myself how to adapt to each one. Like when it comes to techno, the focus is more on the beats, on the rhythms, maintaining an energetic flow. But for my neo soul projects, it's more centered around rich chord progressions, nice harmonies, and melodies. The creative process for each genre is also completely different. And understanding these nuances allows me to learn new things over and over. And the nice thing about music in general is that it's endless. So I'll probably never stop learning.
Just a quick word before we go back to the interview. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the podcast. I'm Joseph.
And this is the HoS Sound Studio.
If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and commenting on this very episode and also following us on the platform where you listen to or you watch the podcast, but also follow us on social media. And if you like this guest, consider checking their masterclass on our website. See in the description, there is a link that directly takes you there with also discount code. Once again, thanks so much for watching and listening to the podcast. We love what we do. I hope to see you soon on a dance floor.
Well, over the years, I've noticed, which many others will agree with, I think, is that you can really love a track that you're working on and you really start to believe in it. Like you work on it without any real pauses, finish it and think it's so good you should release it quickly. And 3 months later, it's released, but you hate the same track you loved so much before. And I think because techno is very loopy and is basically based on a good groove, the thing that has to be spot on is the groove itself. So I taught myself to be patient when it comes to finishing tracks. And that's why I just make loads of short tracks, let them rest for like 1, 2, or 3 months and see if there's still quality left in them before I actually finish them. And this also helps feeding my creativity as I force myself to make something new in a short amount of time. That's such a hard question actually, because it really depends on the on the venue, the time, the space, and the DJ that's playing, I guess. And it's also a matter of taste, I believe. But for me, I think it's about keeping a track minimalistic, because I mean, it's easier to keep people's attention with a lot of extra elements that changes every 10 seconds or so in a track, like when there's happening a lot. But try to make a track with only 6 layers or elements that keeps the attention for like 6 minutes or so. So yeah, your elements really have to stand out for me. The biggest achievement was to turn off my ego and to stop comparing myself with others. These two things go hand in hand, but are definitely not good for your mental health. And I think I'm focusing more on the things that matter now. So my mindset is far more healthy than it was like, I don't know, 10 years ago. Oh wow. Tom and I go way back. We met when we were around 10 years old and playing tennis, and we became best friends super quickly. And I believe 5 years later, we noticed that we had the same taste of music, yeah, electronic music to be specific. And again, 2 years later, we just decided to see if we could play together as a DJ duo. I think we were even the first or one of the first duos in the Netherlands that played as a DJ duo. And before we knew, we were playing like every single weekend in every club, every festival in the Netherlands and Europe and outside of Europe as well. Well, Tom was studying for radiologist, and it just wasn't doable for him anymore. And when I look back at it, I'm actually surprised how long he managed to do both. I think that's how much love he had for the music scene and for his job as a DJ. Yeah, and I can tell you, it was a magical time to travel the world with your friend, sharing the same passion, sharing the same adventures. Yeah, like a beautiful journey, I think. I always saw my older music as a downside, especially because I switched style once in a while. And the older and more experience you get at producing, you will hear all the things you did wrong in a track. But at this point in my life, I actually see it as a good thing. It means I'm open to more genres. I'm not afraid to draw outside the lines. I can filter the good parts from the bad in my old productions, and I definitely hear the growth in my craft over the years. So I think Summer is one of those tracks which is in between techno and house music a bit, and I understand why people loved it or still love it. But that was also the reason why I made the track. I knew others would like it, like the label boss and the listeners, instead of me liking it at the first place. I had to dig through all my older tracks, and I think it's Opticus, and I honestly don't know why. Maybe because it was a time where I didn't really knew where to go with my sound, so I just experimented a lot, and I felt good to produce without expectations from others. So I think that's why I love Opticus so much. I actually never had a deep feeling when it comes to my own music. I think I wasn't ready for it yet. But 1 or 2 years ago, I was finally able to produce a project that I was deeply connected with, and I'm still working on that project actually. That said, it's not a techno music project, but from a neo soul indie project with someone else I'm working on, and I'm still super happy with it. It's not released yet. I hope it's going to be released next year. But yeah, that project is really making me proud for the first time, I guess. Well, when I was younger, it was pretty much an ego boost and a confirmation that your music is good enough. Of course, it can also boost your profile when the label is doing good. But the best connection you get with a label is if they want to make a more special project with you. Yeah, like for example, with Turbo Records, I released a project called Endless that was released, I think, I don't know, 8 years ago or something. And it was a final release with 72 locked grooves. So the effort from both the label and the artist was like really big. And I love those kind of projects where there's more to it than just 4 tracks as an EP. Yes, 100%. I'm super happy with Float Records and how it became a part of the scene. I believe it's a healthy platform for my own music, for unknown talents, and it definitely changed the perspective of artwork in the scene. Back when I started Float, 99% of the artwork from techno labels was black and white. Yeah, sort of industrial kind of vibes. Nowadays, it has a better balance with a wide range of of colors and different kind of artworks. Although it's still not at the level where it could be, to be honest, if I'm comparing it to other scenes or genres. But yeah, I'm super happy that Float is a label that made some positive changes in the scene, for sure. I didn't expect the label would be successful with the main focus on unknown artists and talents. Like we were really the start of many unknown artists and talents that are now established in the scene. So I really learned that the obvious way to go is not always the best way to go. I'm in the scene for quite a long time now, so there has been some changes. But I think the biggest change, especially since COVID, is the amount of everything. So the amount of music that is being released, the amount of labels, the amount of DJs and producers and artists, there's like really a lot at the moment. So I'm glad that the float and my own journey started a while back already, and that I've already set foot into the scene, because I can imagine that it can be quite hard if you're new to the scene and yeah, sort of want to make a living out of it, you know? The idea of own records was there for a much longer time. I wanted to bring back that nostalgic 90s, 2000s sound with a fresh breeze. Yeah, when COVID hit, I suddenly had the time to think it through and to start it. And I'm glad I did. And yeah, I think compared to Float Record, it's much more selective and focused on one particular sound. And Float is more widely spread in sound, I guess. Well, firstly, I trust on my own taste, of course. I gotta like the tracks that I'm going to release on my labels. And the other thing I'm looking for is always something that stands out for me. I want to be surprised. I want to hear something that I can't figure out myself, for example, like a creative way of sound use, mixing, or whatever. And what I also find important is that at least one or two tracks has to be DJ or club friendly, because I also wanna play those out. The thing I learned from the interviews is that there are so many people who have a warm heart for the scene, but at the same time, the scene is really struggling with multiple problems. As the scene as a whole, we really have to do better to create a more healthy scene. Yeah, I think I said this before, but it was to turn off my ego and to stop comparing myself with others. I keep pushing myself to learn new things and become a better producer, but I'm doing this for myself now and not for others anymore. Yeah, perhaps a bit cliche, but I would say don't give up. Trust on your own instincts and try to use those negative thoughts you have to create music. With that said, another important thing is to make hours. I see a lot of artists only produce occasionally, but experience and quality comes with hours and hours of work. And at the end, if it happens you did or didn't succeed in the scene, you can always be proud that you are a good artist or producer and learn a ton of experience. That has to be Floor Plan, Never Grow Old, the Mark Broom dubplate mix. 50 friends, I choose friends over work anytime, 100%, no doubt. Inflow, a soul producer that has produced a lot of my favorite artists out there. So I can't say much about it yet, but it's a total new project. It's a collab between one of my favorite DJs, my favorite collective, and my own label. And it has to do with the status of the techno scene at the moment. But again, I can't say much more at this point. We are working hard on it and we hope to launch it next year. Take us back to the moment you fell in love with the club culture. So, like, what song was playing, where was it, and what was so special about it? Passion for music in general. The fact that music can make me cry so easily and can make me feel so many emotions. Yeah, I think that's the reason why I chose this path.